Ms. Johnson and Mrs. Davis, you are here in court today to finally find out if the defendant is your biological father. You both claim at your mother's funeral, a different man approached you and announced he instead is your father. Wow. Mr. Johnson, you admit you've always had doubts about your children's paternity, but say you're here today to answer 25 years worth of their questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Waiting outside the courtroom is yet another man who believes Mr. Johnson could be his father. He's also taken a DNA test and will meet him shortly. Ms. Johnson, explain to the court what happened at your mother's funeral.
Well, at the time, I haven't seen my mother in 4 years. I was at work, and that's how I found out that my mother had passed away. Now, the day of the funeral, when I had walked in, this guy had walked in behind me and put his hands around me and asked me, how is my beautiful little girl doing? Well, here at this time, I had thought that the defendant, Roger Johnson, was my biological father. And at the time, I did not know who was behind me. So, Your Honor, I'm sitting here looking, stunned and trying to figure out what is this guy talking about as far as him being my biological father.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, did you hear this?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And what was...
I told him, that these are my kids. Her father, supposed to be father, was actually a friend of her grandfather's.
Yes, Your Honor.
You knew this man already?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you grew up knowing this is just a friend of your family?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then he announces he's your father?
Yes, Your Honor. Him and my mother, when she was alive, told me.
And your mother, when she was alive, mentioned that?
Yes.
What did your mother say to you?
My mother would say that she wasn't for sure, but a lot of times she would change her mind and say that Mr. Johnson, the defendant, was my biological father. She would tell me that all the time.
So the story would go back and forth?
Yes, ma'am.
Depends on her needs.
Mr. Johnson, did you ever hear anything about their mother cheating, that someone else could be the father?
Yes, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you hear specifically?
Actually, she actually told me.
She did?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did she say?
She would tell me, I'm unhappy. You're not spending the time with me. Da, da, da. And she would go off and be with these other guys while I was at work. Come on, every man, every woman knows when their partner's cheating on them. And,
did you ever catch her? Did you ever witness firsthand?
I caught her in the man's apartment, but actually caught her activity, no.
How about you, Miss Davis? Did you ever hear anyone tell you before this incident at the funeral that someone else could be your biological father?
My mother used to take me to places like this car lot, and this guy used to work there, and she had me up in the front of the seat with her in the car, and then she looked at the guy and told him, this is her. Now, me being young, I didn't really understand then, but once I got older, I started putting the puzzles together, and then now I know that could have possibly been one of the guys.
Your Honor, I have
yes,
proof.
Sir.
I have proof of...
You have evidence. Jerome, will you please hand me that evidence? Thank you.
That's my divorce papers.
So this is a final judgment of divorce.
Yes, Your Honor.
It says the defendant, which was your mother at the time, will not pay any child support, she having given up all parental rights to plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that would be you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor.
So she relinquished her parental rights.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so, Mr. Johnson, you raised these children on your own.
Yes, Your Honor.
But in this courtroom, you've been honest and said you had doubts.
Yes, Your Honor.
And yet you raised these girls as your own,
yes,
accepted this responsibility.
Yes, Your Honor. The mother, even though the mother told him that the other man was the father and that I wasn't the father, I was there when he was born. I was there the 9 months she carried him.
I know this is tough, sir. I do. You were there for all the monumental moments.
Yeah, I mean, I was the one that taught them how to be a young lady, how to take care of themselves. That was a fun thing. That was fun. But thank God, you know, me being a tattoo artist, I know how to draw, so I was able to explain a lot of things and go on the computer, you know, pull things up.
That's smart. You did illustration, did a visual. That's smart. A very resourceful daddy you were.
And they,
I see you shaking your head, yes, Miss Johnson, and you have tears. You remember him trying to be mom and dad and explain
Yes, Your Honor.
girl things to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
He did his best.
He did the best job he could as being a father raising children, 2 girls alone.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
For many years, Your Honor, and I loved my first wife. That was the mother of my children. But you know, and my children know, I used to pay their mother to see them. And when I said that I wasn't going to pay her.
You used to have to pay
yes, Your Honor.
their mother to see them?
Yes, Your Honor. And that's the reason why it was so long, why they didn't see the mother, having to give her money just to spend time with the kids.
Oh, I understand. You're saying when you had the girls, you wanted the girls to see her.
Yes, Your Honor.
And spend time with her so they could have a mother-daughter
Yes, Your Honor.
connection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you would have to say to her, I'll give you money
Yes, Your Honor.
if you spend time with them.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
My daughters, they was too young to understand and see the things that was going on. But my son actually seen it with his own eyes and heard conversations that took place.
And so now as you look at these girls, do you see yourself in them? Do they look like you? I know physical attributes aren't everything.
Honestly, I see it in Elizabeth, but as Miss Davis, she resembles a lot of the guy that's supposed to be a father.
She does. Miss Davis, is that hard to hear your dad say?
Her mother actually took her to another lady's house, and there was a little boy there, and her mother told her that that was her half-brother or something. And that is also the same one that fathered, the same guy that was supposed to father her, fathered that child too.
And you were introduced to a little boy and told this was your half-brother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you remember that day?
I do. He does look like me a lot.
And how old were you when this happened?
I think I was probably about 6 or 7. I was very young.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Right at that point where kids start, you know, trying to figure out different things, trying to see what path they're going to go down.
Yes.
You know, that's the most vulnerable time of their life. Is
Oh,
when they're
yes, it
born
is.
Up to, you know, they're 10 years old. So that's where they was attacking the most, is when the kids were most vulnerable.
I'm so sorry you young ladies had to go through so much. I really am. And you did grow up with another brother, and he's here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Jerome, I'd like to meet him. Would you please escort him into the courtroom? Hello, sir.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, we're here with your sisters and also your dad, talking about the issues regarding their paternity. Tell me what you know exactly about the doubts surrounding their paternity.
There's a lot of doubts. My middle sister, I could see my father.
That's Miss Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Davis, I love her to pieces.
It's okay, sweetie.
But
But
here's some.
you don't see your father.
No, ma'am.
And that hurts you to have to say. I can see that. And I can imagine for all three of you, it's difficult when one family member seems to be singled out, or why is there a difference when we're all family and we all love each other equally and we all feel like we belong to our dad, which is exactly how all children should feel.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we never singled her out. She,
I don't believe you did, but what I meant by that, sir, is that others have.
yeah, and it got to her, and she got to a point to where she was trying to single herself out from the family. Her husband didn't even know I was her father.
Really?
I actually,
Explain, how could he not know you were her?
from what he was told, I was just the man that raised her. And that was like taking a knife and stabbing it in my heart. I got upset about it. I actually confronted Melinda about it.
You did. Ms. Davis, can you explain what happened? Was there a time when you just felt there was so much confusion?
I was young, I was rebellious. I was going through a period of time to where I said some very negative things towards my father, and I really didn't mean it. I was very confused still at that point in time.
Okay.
Your Honor, she was so confused, another man gave her away at her wedding. I wasn't even invited. I didn't even know she had got married.
I think you can hear in your father's voice how much it hurts him because he loves you, and every man wants to walk his daughter down the aisle.
Yes, ma'am.
And what's your relationship like now between the two of you?
Well, it's not good, Your Honor. It's not good at all. For a long time there, she had my number. She wouldn't call me. She wouldn't contact me.
Your Honor, I was pretty mad at him. When I had married my husband, it was a total awkwardity between me and him with my father because he did not accept my husband.
Okay. I can see the torment on your faces, Miss Davis. I feel like there's something you want to say to your father.
I have denied him as my father. I have done a lot of hurtful things to him, and I admit I have. I'm not perfect. All I ask for is forgiveness. I don't want to do this anymore.
Your Honor, I forgive her, but you know, the main important thing here is what they got to understand. I have 7 grandchildren. 2 of my grandchildren is with her. All right, they have medical problems, the oldest one does. And when she has, I want her to understand that even though I want to know if I'm really her father, regardless if I am biological, I'm always going to be a father, she needs to know, and her children need to know, because with the medical problems they have, they run on both sides of the family. And if it takes going through this pain right now, bringing up the past, finding out the DNA to save my grandchild.
Well, let's let the healing begin and start with the truth. Jerome, let's get the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Johnson, Davis v. Johnson, as it pertains to the paternity of Roger Johnson Jr., and as to whether Roger Johnson Sr. is his biological father, Mr. Johnson Sr., you are his father. Now we'll move on to the results for Ms. Johnson. In the case of Johnson, Davis v. Johnson, as it pertains to the paternity of Elizabeth Johnson, and as to whether Roger Johnson Sr. is her biological father, Mr. Johnson Sr., you are her father. And we have one more result left as it pertains to Ms. Davis. In the case of Johnson Davis v. Johnson, as it pertains to the paternity of Melinda Davis, and as to whether Roger Johnson Sr. is her biological father, Mr. Johnson Sr., you are her father.
This closes a lot for us, even when our mother was not here.
I'm so very happy for all of you. This is why we do this every day, right, Jerome?
Absolutely right.
Every day.
Thank you.
It's to reconnect families. I wish you all the very best of luck. Your beautiful family. Court is adjourned.
Thank you.
You are in court
In Michigan,
dealing with a child support order,
yes.
only to be told by the judge
He lying.
that there were other potential fathers, and when he reads the names, one of them is your cousin?
He's
He
lying
talked to
because
Ms.
the
Brown,
state
he
of
said those
Michigan
names.
don't even
When
put
he
that
said
on
my
the
cousin's
papers.
name,
You're
I said,
lying.
whoa,
They didn't
I
even
know
put
that
names.
name.
They
But
don't
wait,
even
but
do
you're
that in
the one
Michigan.
that's on child support.
They don't even do that
Because
in
when I
Michigan.
came
That's a
down
whole
there,
lie.
when I came down there,
Whole
Yana,
lie.
and they talked to Ms. Brown about
No.
what all she had come there previously
No.
and done, I guess whatever paperwork she put in, which is how they found me, I don't know what she did. He said those names, and that's what my
No,
cousin's
they don't
name
even
came
have
out of that
names.
judge's
That's
mouth.
how you're lying.
And so, Ms. Brown,
He's lying.
had you ever listed other names for the court besides Mr. Washington's name?
No, I just put him.
That's
and
about
the
it.
court
And so
kept-
how did Mr. Washington hear these other names?
He didn't hear no names.
Once
In
the
the state
judge-
of Michigan, the judge don't even give names.
The
So
judge
that's
said,
how he's
Mr.
lying. They
Washington-
just called Mr. Washington and
The
said,
judge
hey,
said those
Ms.
names,
Brown
then he
has
says,
a child
Mr.
by you.
Washington,
Can you come
okay,
in?
today is your date.
No,
for
he
you
did
to,
not.
see established
They didn't say
paternity.
that.
He tried
They
to get
didn't
me
say
swabbed,
that.
and I guess the people that does it
They're
wasn't
lying.
there or something
He's
like that. I
lying.
don't know. I never got it done.
They
And
gave him
that's when he
two
told me.
Okay,
chances.
hold on, Ms.
Okay.
Brown. I need you to let him give his
lying.
testimony. And even if you don't believe it's true, I'll give you a chance to respond.
Okay.
So, Mr. Washington, you found out another list of names, and he said today is your day.
Today is my day.
And you were supposed to get a DNA test.
And they didn't do it.
They-
The judge had said to see if they could get my mouth swabbed because the people weren't there, and they never did it. They said, well, I had to pay for it and made me the father by default.
So you pretty much missed your window. The court named you by default. Now your checks start getting garnished.
Yes. And now I'm threatening.
Even though you claimed that 4 other men were listed, and the judge informed you of that during one of your hearings.
They don't do
Yes.
So, Ms. Brown, it was your testimony there were no other men.
that. No.
How would the court even have these men's names?
Only
How
person
would they
name I
even
put was Mr. Washington. They don't put names on it. What happened was, Mr. Washington, I told the friend of the court about Mr. Washington. They sent him a paper. They gave him 2 hearings to come to court. Every time they gave it to him, he made an excuse why he could not make it. And he would call like, oh, I got this to do. Oh, I
Never
got that
gave
to do.
me anything.
They'll
They sent it in the
reschedule.
mail.
Okay, let her testify.
They would reschedule everything. And then when it came to a point, my case manager said, hey, Mr. Washington, why are you prolonging it? Like, we gave you 2 chances to come to Michigan to take this test. You're not willing to take it. What's going on? So that's when they said, okay, you don't want to take the test. Fine, then you're the father. And that's when they put him on child support.
And it didn't go like that.
Yes,
Once
it
they
did.
sent that first
They don't
letter
give
out,
names.
I called that friend of the court
No, you
because his
didn't.
number was listed, and that's
No.
how I showed up for the
No.
second court date.
You didn't
I scheduled
show
a
up.
date to come.
I'm still stuck on how does the court have more than one name?
They
stuck
don't.
too,
They
Your Honor.
only have Mr. Washington. They don't give names. They only had him. That's why they sent him the paper.
So,
they didn't
Mr.
have no other
Washington,
names.
you say your cousin's name was listed and the
No.
judge informed you
You got
of
a
that.
paper.
Yes, and she was
What a
messing
paper
around
at?
with him during the time with
What a
me
paper
and
at?
DeAndre. Mind
No,
you, we
I
all
was
from that same.
not.
Remember I told you
No,
we
I
all
was
from the
not.
same area.
No, I never messaged
The
you.
little engine that could.
No.
Wait, what did you say?
We are all from the same neighborhood. The town is small. So if something happens or if somebody is, messing around out there, everybody knows. If there's a party, everybody shows up. She's always the main type. She's at every one. Once she gets her money, she hops on that expressway
I work for my
right
money.
down
You don't
there.
have no money, so
That's-
when I don't have to work, I go
she
out.
got
Why
people,
is it
other
bothering
guys,
you?
my friends, driving her vehicle, pulling up on me with alcohol in the car. But you're supposed to be coming to see me.
All right, hold
never
on.
pulled up.
I'm going back to
You
when you
lying.
found out your cousin's name was listed.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
When
When?
you
You
found
got a
out your
paper?
cousin's name was listed, what were you thinking? Did you say something to your cousin?
We wound up meeting up, and then he told me that he also, had been dealing with it. And now the thing is, she knew we were cousins because when she did come around, she met certain family members. I would say, this is my brother, my cousin, whatever. And that's how she knew that was my cousin. Why she decided to go behind my back and sneak around with him, I don't know. I didn't even know what was going on until me and him started talking. And she's like, oh, she done had this baby. And now she's saying, this baby is mine and this and that.
What?
And then she started saying that the baby was his. Then she
Oh
said it
my
was
God,
mine.
you
and
fronted
then,
your move.
it's
Hold
everywhere.
on. Hold on. Oh my gosh. At some point, you're standing in a courtroom and you say you hear your own cousin's name listed as a potential father. You get in touch with that cousin and you find out that he, in fact, has also been sleeping with Ms. Brown.
He told me.
No.
He told me.
And from there, you realize that this is a family affair in more ways than one.
Yeah.
No,
Plus
it's
DeAndre.
not.
Plus you got DeAndre.
No.
So listen,
I don't.
this court is about getting down to the truth.
Right.
And I want to hear the whole truth, so I want to talk to your cousin, Jerome. Please escort Mr. Johnson into the courtroom.
Gonna get right up to the witness stand. That's good. Watch your step going up the stairs.
Please have a seat, sir. Mr. Johnson, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're here talking about the paternity of DeAndre Gray Jr., and I would like you to explain to this court, if you had a relationship with Ms. Brown, was it a sexual relationship?
Yes, Your Honor, it was.
So you had a sexual relationship with Ms. Brown?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
All right, and so has she ever told you you were DeAndre Gray, her child's biological father?
Yes.
When have I ever told you that?
What happened?
I called her and I asked her what's going on, why we going back and forth with you saying that I'm the child's father. Then it's my cousin's baby. But then a couple more weeks later, now it's back his baby. You see what I'm saying?
You're lying.
So you
This is
feel
what-
like she was going back and forth?
Whoever
Of course.
she
No.
Has
Of
she
course.
ever told
You a lie.
you to your face you are DeAndre's biological father?
On the phone, but not to my face.
On the phone, she
You're
said
lying.
it.
Yes,
I
Your
don't even
Honor.
know your phone number. And I
Oh,
don't
you know his phone number?
No, I do not.
Well, how'd y'all hang out and do all
So
things?
hold
Y'all-
on,
When we
Miss
were
Br-
with you,
Miss
dummy.
Brown.
No, you weren't with me when
Yes,
you
at
had
your
sexual
house,
intercourse
dummy.
with my cousin.
No, I never
I
had
was not
sex with
there.
your
cousin,
Trust me on
liar.
that.
Let's get some order. Ms. Brown,
Yes.
are you confirming that you had a sexual relationship with Mr. Johnson?
No, I never had sex with Mr. Johnson. It's all a front. It's all a front.
What?
It's all a front. That's all. I never had sex with him.
You never had sex with him.
No. No,
Matthew,
I
That's a
never.
lie, Your Honor.
Matthew.
That's
When?
a lie. She's been to my
When?
mom's house.
When?
mother knows.
When have I been to your
My
mom's
mother
house?
and
My
his
mother
mother.
and
When
his
have I
mother
been to your
knows
mom's
her
house?
baby.
I've been to your grandmother's
Going
house.
to your mom's house ain't got nothing to do with it.
Right. Thank you.
That's not the point.
Right.
But Ms. Brown, I've got to give you a moment again because you've had a moment like this in this courtroom before,
Right,
where you
but
testified
I
to
don't have
one
to lie
thing
who I
and then
slept with.
5 minutes later you testified to something else. I had to give
Right.
you a moment. Just tell the truth.
I
Because
never
that's the-
slept with him. That's
So
what I'm
you've
saying.
never
I always
slept-
hung out with them. I never slept
So
with
you have
them.
never been intimate with
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
That's a lie.
No. No.
That's a lie.
How you know who I slept with? I never slept with your cousin. That's nasty.
Because that's my
trifling.
cousin and we talked.
No.
And he
so
told me.
no, he can say anything to you and you're gonna believe it. You're sent off in a dummy.
Ms.
That's
Brown,
why.
hold on.
So he gonna say,
Ms. Brown.
Back at you,
Ms.
bow.
Brown. So it is your testimony you have never been intimate with Mr. Johnson.
No.
That's
At
a lie,
all.
Your Honor.
You've had a question in your mind related to the paternity of DeAndre.
Yes, Your Honor.
You always are thinking, is this or is this not my child?
Yes, Your Honor.
So much so that your cousin says at some point you basically said, we need to talk about this and get this straight.
Yes, Your Honor.
We met up and talked about it, and it was to the point to where he had gotten into detail about how she would come over to his house and everything like that. The family knows. I don't know why she's standing here lying right now. I can't
So
make sense of it.
specifically, what did you discuss? What did you two discuss?
Well, I told him that she was saying that, I had a baby by her. And then he said, well, she's saying, there's a rumor that she's saying the same thing about me because she knew what she had done with the both of us. So now me and him, we trying to figure this whole thing out.
No.
And couldn't make sense of it.
No.
Couldn't make no sense of it. Right now, I'm confused as ever.
God can strike
You told DeAndre this, you told me this,
I only told you.
you slept with my cousin, and now you in court saying that you never did. Y'all know we're not gonna come all the way
I
here to
never
lie.
slept with your cousin, so why
You're
would
not
I
gonna
come here and lie? I
y'all.
slept with you and DeAndre, so what are you talking about?
Right.
Ms.
You
Brown,
always had a car.
let me
No, I
ask
did
you
not.
this.
No, I didn't.
DeAndre is 4 now.
Right.
Who is he calling daddy?
Big Dre. DeAndre, Sr. That's all dad he knows because Mr. Washington never stepped up.
But it is your clear assertion that Mr. Washington truly is your child's biological father.
Yes.
Mr. Washington, when's the last time you saw DeAndre?
I would say sometime last year,
No, you didn't.
A year ago.
because I had traveled to Michigan and I tried to work some things out with her because she's been ongoing with this. Oh, this is your son, this is your son. So I said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and come down here for a few days and, you know, check him out and see what's going on. And that was it. I stayed for about 4 days maybe and then came back to Illinois.
And you saw him?
I saw him.
You spent time with him?
Yes.
And when you saw him, did you say, you know, I've changed my mind. I do believe it's a possibility. This could be my son.
I had some thoughts like that, but then I said, you know what? I don't think he looks anything like me. And after seeing him and actually being around him, I just don't think so. As I was there, big DeAndre would call the phone or whatnot, you know, and she letting them talk to him. And once DeAndre reached out to me, he told me, he said, man, you know, when you was up here, I knew everything that you was doing. He was telling me what I was up there in Michigan doing. So while I'm there trying to work things out with her, she was still, at that point, was still messing with DeAndre. And that's what just certified the whole thing for me. I said, you know what? I'm not dealing with this.
So, Mr. Johnson, have you reached out and have you tried to explore whether or not you are DeAndre's biological father?
Not on that. I talked to my brother about it, and we got together and said we got to stop this whole
Have you
situation.
seen DeAndre?
Yeah, I've seen him before. Yes, Your Honor.
And you had a chance to spend time with him?
Yes, I did with my brother.
2 potential fathers, cousins, spending time with one child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
No.
And her. Because again, Your Honor, once she get paid, she come to Illinois, it's party time. So
Grown.
she pulls
Don't worry
up,
about it.
she's buying all these things. We drink occasionally, she buys it. So at that, it was awkward, but we was hanging out.
Look, I hope you know now, drunk can get you stuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's difficult to unravel all of this because the court is going to determine what's in the best interest of the child, and what's in the best interest of the child is that he's taken care of. But what's interesting in this situation is you got another person who stepped up to the plate and is basically raising the child as the daddy, who also gave him his name. He is the junior, but then you are the man that's on child support and has to pay for the child.
Exactly.
Usually what we counsel people to in this courtroom, a man like DeAndre Sr. is, well, be careful if you're gonna sign that birth certificate, you're gonna be responsible for child support. But instead of him being responsible for the child support, you are.
Exactly.
And he's still on the birth certificate.
And she said she's so sure
never
that's
got
my
it
kid. Well, why
signed.
doesn't
Oh,
he have
he
my
didn't
last
sign
name?
the
No,
birth
he couldn't. He
Like
didn't
that.
have an ID to sign it. He wanted to,
Oh, he wanted to sign it,
Yes.
but he didn't because
Yes.
he didn't have an ID.
but yes.
Oh, my goodness. You one ID away. No, I'm serious. No, really. Now, we are literally in a legal limbo. You're paying child support, but you're not on the birth certificate, but you don't even know if you are the biological father. DeAndre Sr. is acting out the role of father. DeAndre Jr. calls him daddy, but he also isn't on the birth certificate, and we also don't know if he's the biological father. Then we got your cousin over here that says he thinks he could be the biological father, and that she told him that he could be, and the family members say that he could be, and you two have even talked about the fact that either one of you might be,
nothing
but
like
there
that.
also could be someone else that's the biological father. This is a mess.
Yeah.
And this child ain't 4 months old. 4 weeks old, he's 4 years old.
Right.
Many, many lessons here. Right?
Yes.
I think it's time we get to the results. Jerome? These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows. In the case of Brown versus Washington, when it comes to 4-year-old DeAndre Gray Jr., it has been determined by this court, Mr. Washington, you are the father. That's your little boy.
Okay. And
You
now that-
are the father.
And now that I know that, all this time has went past, fully prepared to step up and be the father that I'm supposed to be.
Good. Good. You're gonna have to be a man about this. Because you and DeAndre Gray Sr. gonna have to work out this thing with DeAndre Gray Jr. because that's your baby.
Right.
And Ms. Brown, I'm not gonna let you off the hook. You said to me that once he rejected you, when you told him this was your child, you said, I didn't want to be alone.
Yes, I did.
And even wrong, right, or indifferent, that was your truth. And I knew that. And even though you have weaved a web of hot messness, I mean, really, this has been a mess. For 4 years, this child has suffered for no reason. This did not have to happen. It's because he couldn't come to court and you were scared to be alone and now the child is suffering for it. But I know why you did it then, but it's that same feeling of just not knowing what to do and not knowing what to do in a moment, so you do the wrong thing instead of the right thing. I want to catch you before you do it again, because now that we have the truth, I want you to do the right thing for your son.